Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 23 career mode, and today we're here for the 11th round of our full Moto3 season for the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Now if you didn't see the last episode, I do recommend you go check that one out because we did the Kazakhstan Grand Prix and then after that we did the summer break, although to be fair the summer break was literally like one option we had to pick, so not too much happened with that one, but we decided that we are going to try and go to Moto2 for next year. In the comment section of that video you guys seem to reassure me that I hadn't done anything wrong. The team choice actually comes at the end of the season, so we are absolutely fine with that one because I was a bit worried because I hadn't been given any options of teams or anything like that to try and go after, but it seems like that is completely normal. Now actually in the race, the Kazakhstan Grand Prix, we actually had some really good pace. We qualified 8th, but in the end managed to get up to 2nd place, although that doesn't really tell the story. We went backwards and then went forwards and just managed to get it on the last lap. Joel Kelso won by miles in that one as well, so it was a bit of a strange Grand Prix, but the first time we've probably taken any points out of the guys at the front of the championship. But going into this round then, we now have a new objective. We need to be in the top 5 of the championship within these next 3 Grand Prix, which should be okay because we are currently in P4 with a little bit of a buffer behind. So we just need to try and score some consistent points over these next few races, but we've got my home race and the team's home race in one, so this could be quite an eventful Grand Prix. Also, the different layout this year, well, the layout is virtually the same, but basically we now start on the international pit straight instead of the national one, so Abbey is now turn 1, Copse is no longer the first corner, although it doesn't really change the track at all. It is the same, it's just the start and finish line is in a different place. But without any further ado then, let's head into the weekend. Hopefully we have got some good pace, but the AI will be strong here because they always are in the MotoGP game. Well, we got stitched up a bit in free practice this weekend. You can see we're down in 19th place, a second off of the top times. I tried to skip to qualifying tactic again. It obviously hasn't worked because basically, as you can see in the background, it is raining. The session started off dry, so we got maybe about 3-4 laps in at the start of the session just before the rain started to come down, and the rain was basically then too heavy at that point to do any better lap times. All the AI were on grey sectors. I was actually sat in P2 on the standings, but the AI have somehow gone like over a second faster. I think it was Via that was top there. The 13.5 might have genuinely been the time he'd done as well. So if we look where I am, a 13.8. So yeah, I was 3 tenths off Via. That sounds about right. Then of course it rained, so basically it was impossible to beat those lap times, but the AI have somehow done it anyway. So yeah, we're going into Q1 for our home Grand Prix. It's a bit unfair, and it seems again like the simulated times are going to screw us over a little bit, which is quite unfortunate because the pace is not the best, I'll be honest. It's not a track I'm very good at or that I particularly like, even though it is my home Grand Prix. I'm not this far off the pace. I'm not that much slower. I mean, a second to the leaders I guess is reasonable, but not when it started raining. So here we are then in Q1, and at least we have beat Joel Kelso here, the winner of the last race in the free practice sessions. It just shows how inconsistent some of these AI riders are. It's very strange because of course he dominated the last round, yet is not even going through Q1 here. But here we are then into qualifying 1. First time I've had to go through this session for a while, and from what I remember it's virtually impossible to actually go through this session because the simulated times always push you out, so it is going to be quite difficult for us. Hopefully we can get through this session. Hopefully it's just a bit of a formality and we can do a decent enough time to top the session. But when we've got the likes of Kelso in here and Ortola's in here. I've only just noticed that Ortola's in P8 there. So yeah, we've got basically one of the championship contenders. We've got Kelso who won the last race in here. So yeah, there's some pretty fast riders in this session. So it's probably not going to be as easy as I think to get through. But if we can get one of those top 4 spots, that would be ideal. So here we are then, about to start our first lap of the session. We've closed a lot up to Bertelli, so hopefully he doesn't hold me up on this lap. But unfortunately, he has absolutely held me up on this lap. I've tried to overtake him a couple of times, which definitely cost me 2:14.2. So yeah, that pretty much seals it. We're only just in the top 4 now, and much slower than we did in practice. And I've got myself in behind Ortola now, which hopefully will drag us along to something. But he's only 5th himself, so I think maybe the fact that MTA team have dropped down in the standings is going to hurt him. The R&D standings, I mean, obviously the team performances that got updated in the last episode. Well, we have found about a second on this lap. Overtaken Ortola, we caught him in a much better place. And there we go, top of the session by 2 tenths with 5 minutes to go. Hopefully that should get us through into the second qualifying session. But it's absolutely huge. Ortola is now down to 8th place. It does look pretty unlikely he will go through, and I assume it must be the team performance. Must be actually affecting the AI performance. Obviously it's the first time in the game we've ever had R&D and things that can change throughout the season, so it'll be interesting to see if him and Nepa drop further through the order in this second half of the season, and it could actually spice up the championship at the top. It could allow us to potentially get into the top 3 in the championship if he does have a bad run of form in the second half of the season. So for the first time, we've actually advanced from Q1 to Q2. Every other time we've been in here, we've not stood a chance. But we actually managed to top this session, which does look pretty good for our pace. A decent amount found compared to practice. I suppose that just comes with getting dialed in with the circuit. And following Ortola, to be fair, did help. Although you can see he was almost half a second off of our time. 8th place in this session. Let's have a look. Is Nepper even in this session? Yeah, he is right at the back. So, to be honest, I think maybe it is going to be a bit dictated by the bike's performances. And I feel like the Tech 3 team had also dropped down, which is the championship leader Holgado, so it'll be worth sort of watching out throughout this weekend, see where he is. Obviously Farioli hasn't got through in this session I've just seen, so yeah, I think this could be a very interesting second half of the season if these team performances are actually going to affect things. But either way, let's head into Q2 now then and see if we can fight for pole position. So Q1 went pretty well there then. I'm hoping that we can try to take that momentum into this session. Again, we're going to go with the medium soft, but you can see I'm actually running out of medium front tyres because of course I need to use them in every session. So if I do need to do a second run in this session, although it's quite difficult to do at Silverstone with it being so long, but if I need to do a second run, I'll probably have to resort to the soft tyre. Hopefully we can try to stick with Messier in front of us because he'd be a pretty good marker, I think, for the flying lap. So we're stuck with him pretty well. So hopefully he can tow us as we start our first qualifying lap in Q2. So up towards the line then, it's been a pretty decent lap, 2:13.4. So a couple of tenths slower than we went in Q1, to be fair. But still, a pretty decent banker. We've made a bit of a mistake there on the curb. We're going to allow Messier back through, and to be honest, probably wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to just get back on the back of him again, because I do like having a rabbit to chase. It does make it quite easy. Well, not quite easy, but it does make it easier to try and follow the AI's lines, because I'm definitely picking up some stuff in some of the sectors where they are quicker, so it is helpful. It's just I probably didn't quite execute that one as well as I did in Q1, where I sort of passed Ortola. He would maybe help me up a little bit, but to be fair, I'm still quite happy with that one at the minute. That is pole position. Yamanaka goes pole. Yamanaka takes pole position, 9 thousandths ahead of myself now. So we have now been dropped down to 3rd place. Let's see if we can improve on this lap. So what's the line? Doesn't look like this lap might be a slight improvement. Yes, it is. It's pole position once again. 37 thousandths clear of Xavi Artigas. With 5 minutes to go in the session then. Not much longer for the AI to try and improve, but you know they'll give it their best go. And the simulations might help them out when the session's over as well. Well, that was disappointing. You can see here then at the end of qualifying, Diogo Moreira is on pole position with Ayumu Sasaki behind him in 2nd place, Tatsuki Suzuki 3rd, Jaume Masia 4th, and Holgado actually ending up in 5th position. So much really for those theories that I was coming up with. He's still pretty much up there. You can see the Leopard guys are right up there as well. Masia was struggling throughout the session. It is the standard kind of guys you'd expect to see at the front. The only one really missing is Ortola, and I think maybe that is affected by the performance. Although he did go missing at Le Mans as well, if you do remember. So maybe it's just a bit of an off round for him. But I'm down in 13th place on the grid then. Pretty disappointed because I was 2nd position when I actually finished the session myself, went into the pits. Fast forwarded a bit, I think I'd got knocked down to 5th or 6th, and then after the session ended, I get pushed down even further. So that is disappointing to see that the simulated times at this circuit are quite bad, because you would have thought they'd had to have been retweaked very slightly with the layout change. I don't know whether, well, I suppose it is still the same, isn't it? The same distance circuit, but it does depend where the finish line is, maybe on the sector times, because it is done on 4 sectors, so you would have thought they had to have been retuned because one of the sector lengths might have changed. But yeah, either way, we are 13th place on the grid then for our home Grand Prix. We've far outperformed Scott Ogden once again then, and really our only objective this weekend is to get in the top 15 in terms of the added race objective, also to stay in the top 5 in the championship, I guess. So really our target there is Artigas and obviously Sasaki, who's a little bit further up the order here. So yeah, I think we're just going to get his head down, get into the race. Hopefully if we can get a decent start, we should be able to mix it up with the guys at the front, because the pace is looking pretty good here. So without any further ado, let's get into the race and see if we could fight for a podium. So here we are then, down on the grid. I think we have just been recommended a soft on both the front and the rear, but I'm going to stick with what I've been using all weekend, the medium and the soft. Obviously, as we saw in Kazakhstan, I think sometimes going with my own decision is a good idea, because of course it did recommend us a hard tyre there. I chose against it, and to be honest, the late race pace was really good, so clearly it showed the tyre didn't go off. So I think from now on, I've probably played enough of the game now that I could trust my own judgment with the tyre wear. Obviously, we've done quite a few 50% races now, so I'd say that we could probably predict the drop-off a little bit. The soft tyre might be a little bit sketchy here, because you saw they were quite worn, but of course, it is going to be a race where there's not so many laps because it is such a long circuit. Not sure exactly how many there is, but it probably will be a few less than we've had at some of the other ones, because I think this is the longest track on the calendar. Maybe aside from Sepang, but I think it might still be slightly longer than that circuit anyway. But either way then, from 13th on the grid, let's see what we could do. Hopefully, if we can have a good start, we could try and fight up there towards the front.
The riders have been greeted by a fantastic atmosphere here at Silverstone. They're all lined up for the start, ready for some British Grand Prix action.
So Moreira on pole position, then Sasaki alongside Suzuki rounded out the front row. So 2 Japanese riders right up there this weekend. But the lights are on then, waiting for them to go out here for our home Grand Prix. They're holding for quite a long time. The lights out and away we go. And there you can see our objective is just to get into the top 5 in the championship. Well, we're already there. Stay in the top 5 in the championship. We've lost the rear a little bit through turn 1. The start's not been too good. We've lost a position. Seems to be a bit of a trend the last couple of races. We've got that past Toba there, though. Can we go to the outside, down towards here, around the outside of a few of the AI, or risking it on the front end a bit there? We're up into P9, so we have made up a few positions. We're into the top 10. Riccardo Rossi just in front of us there on the 658 bike. We've hit Riccardo Rossi a little bit out of the way there, so apologies, Riccardo, for that one. It's a little bit aggressive. But there we are then, up into P8. So the start actually has been pretty decent. The launch off the line wasn't great, but we've handled the first couple of corners quite well. We're away with the front group, roughly. We might have to make a couple of more passes just to guarantee that one, but... And speaking of that, we're on the inside of Yamanaka, and again, it's another aggressive pass, another bit more contact, so we do need to be careful, otherwise we'll be getting some complaints on the social media. On the inside of Dennis on Chu, don't think we'll get any complaints from him, even if we completely sent him off the track. He loves a good aggressive battle, does Dennis. But side by side with him going through Woodcut. I think we should have him because we've got a bit of an advantage on the AI into Cops by the looks of it on the brakes. So we're up to 6th place. So the start has been pretty good. Danny Holgado in front of us, obviously the World Championship leader. Moreira trying to take the lead back from Sasaki. Obviously for Moreira, this could be a crucial race. If Holgado is down in 5th position, it is an opportunity to gain points. Obviously Holgado struggled quite a bit in Kazakhstan as well. Lost a few points, so he does need to be careful. Otherwise he might be reeled in. And he probably needs to be careful on track now because we're looking all over the back of him. And we are looking really fast on this first lap. So here we are then down the back straight. It will help us to have the slipstream on the AI. But I must say, I don't think we're losing as much straight line speed now compared to the AI. So maybe the bike is a bit quicker. It doesn't feel much different, but it does seem like maybe we are sort of holding in there a little bit more against the AI. In the other sessions, even when I didn't have the slipstream, they weren't really pulling alongside me quite as easily by the looks of it. But down towards the Vale corner then. I thought about going on the outside there, but it's so difficult to actually get it turned in for that turn. Just thought it'd be better off sticking behind. Hopefully we don't get attacked by Onshu there, because we did lose a little bit of time. You can see Moreira's hit the front. Sasaki's going with him a little bit there. It looks like they're actually stretching away from Suzuki in 3rd. So if we do want a chance at this race win for our home Grand Prix and for the team's home Grand Prix, then we really need to pull our finger out and make some passes on the Leopards and Holgado ahead of us. Speaking of a pass there, Holgado passes Messiah, so Messiah is demoted to 5th place. Obviously for us it doesn't matter too much now because he's not our rival anymore, but of course to be top Honda in the race would be probably the minimum objective, so we do need to pass him and Suzuki to make that happen. Fuel does seem like it might be a bit more marginal here because we've got plus 0.2 in reserve, so we might not get away with using as much power mode 3 as we have in the other rounds. Race is 9 laps as well. I said I wasn't sure, so it is a bit shorter because usually they're about 10, 11 or 12, but obviously we've got 9 here because the circuit is so long. So here we are then, closing up to Messiah. Can we try and make a move happen here on the inside? Holgado, meanwhile, is overtaking the other Leopard Honda off Suzuki, so Holgado seems to be getting himself together a little bit. Obviously struggled a bit at the beginning of the qualifying session, qualified in a decent spot, and has now worked his way up onto the podium, so he might try and go towards those leaders. So really, we probably need to be on the back of him to try and be towed along. But I guess we'll have to just see how it pans out. Looks like Suzuki's gone back at him, so maybe he won't be pulling away from us too quickly. So once again down towards Vale. I think we have got the advantage on the brakes, but it is just getting it turned in for that corner. I've really struggled a couple of times this weekend to do that. We'll look at the inside through Curve 17 apparently that's called. I guess that must be a slight translation error. That obviously must be turn 17 is what it's supposed to say. So obviously they've accidentally left it in Italian for that corner. But we've now got Dennis on shoe all over the back of us. So an aborted attempt there at passing Messiah has cost us quite big to the Turkish rider behind us. And here he goes. He's still trying to attack us through farm, but I think we might have him covered off now. No, actually not quite. We might have him into here because we do seem to have the advantage on the brakes into Village. He's trying to go around the outside through the loop, but actually he's looking behind him through the loop. That's really shows a bit of confidence there from Onchu. He's trying to go around the outside. Probably cost us a bit of time, a little bit of a touch there. Down towards Brooklyn. Try and get a bit of a slipstream there from Messiah just to pull us ahead of Onchu, but you can see he's got a bit of a side slipstream off of us. Back past as he goes, but on the brakes, once again, we've got the advantage. And we are back up into P6, although I don't think we've really lost it there, but either way, just back ahead of Onshu for now. Does seem like perhaps we are struggling a little bit. Looked like we were really quick on the opening lap, but does seem like now that AI have got to their stride that maybe we're dropping back a bit, which does happen. I usually come on a little bit more towards the end of the race, so if we could just try and stick with these guys, maybe the tides will start to turn after the half race distance. I just realised Onchu's completely disappeared, so I don't know what's happened to him. Yamanaka and RT Gas behind us now, so Onchu's just completely vanished. I don't think we knocked him off or anything. There's no yellow flags, so no idea what happened there. Maybe he just got a bad run on the curb or something. But either way, it's kind of released us a little bit now because we've got about half a second back behind, so we can sort of focus on Masia once again, which is always lovely. So we had a pretty good lap there. 12.9, so a lot quicker than what we did in qualifying. I think it just reinforces the theory that the player is a lot slower in the cloudy conditions compared to AI, because that's my quickest lap of the weekend by a decent way, at least 0.3 of a second. To be fair, I probably called it about right, because it is about half race distance now, isn't it, with 4 laps completed, and we're halfway around this lap, so yeah, it would be about my time to start making progress again. So here we are then, we're in the slipstream of Masia, going down towards Stowe. It's going to be difficult to make the pass here, because the AI don't actually brake that much for this corner. It's easy to go in hot or lose the rear. But up the inside we go. He's trying to hang it around the outside. He might have that extra speed, but we might be able to get him down towards Vale, because we have that superior braking ability into that corner. And here we go, around the outside of Masia, up into P5. So next up then is Tatsuki Suzuki, who's still battling with Holgado ahead. Although Masia's coming back at me, he's kind of bashed me out the way there through the last corner. That's a shame. That stopped us from beating our lap from the lap before. So we're going to have to try and go back at Masia, and we might be able to go straight back at him into Abbey, actually, into turn 1. Oh no, that's not gone to plan at all. That's cost us a good few tenths there. So we've just been given a fuel warning there, so we're 0.0, so we're going to have to turn the engine down pretty soon. So I was right about it being a lot more marginal at this circuit. Oh well, that noise is annoying. I really do need to turn the fuel down. Masia's dropped massively back from the guys in front as well, by the way. Like, really, it's him that's dragged us backwards. The fact that he was able to overtake us again, and then we had the botched overtake on him, has really kind of stopped us from any chance of the podium this race. And actually, we've now been overtaken by RT Gas and Rueda, so all of a sudden, we've got to be focusing on getting P6 back, not even trying to get P5 anymore. And we're back at the inside of RT Gas, bit of contact with RT Gas. Oh, had to pick the bike up a little bit there. But he's going to get back up the inside. The AI can just turn so much tighter, and now we've got Yamanaka coming through as well. Well, that's just become an absolute disaster. I'm going to have to turn the engine back up, even though we're risking the fuel, because the pace is just nowhere without it. So here we are then, down towards Village, up the inside of Yamanaka. Not quite been able to get the inside of RT Gas as well. Yamanaka actually trying to hang it around the outside. He might be able to do so, and it's just going to cost us time. This is what we kind of avoided so far in this race, really, aside from a brief moment with Onchu. But you can see how much time we've lost to Masia, and Masia was someone that we were hassling not too long ago. This is just what happens when you get caught in the pack, but unfortunately it's happening pretty late in the race, so there's not going to be much time for us to come back. But there we got these are the Brooklands of Yamanaka, so we're back up into P8 once again. You can see Masia is struggling because Rueda is hassling him now too. Fortunately for us, Masia is still holding Rueda back, so that P5 is still potentially on the table if we have a good last sector and then last couple of laps. But I don't think he's going to keep him behind for much longer, because he seems to be drafting past him on the straight here. He's done it. So Rueda up into 5th place, probably his best result of the season, because we've not really seen him much at the sharp end this year. Tell you what though, Masia's got him back, so it's still a bit of a ding-dong battle going on. And we've now got Ivan Ortola behind us, so Ortola's managed to climb his way through from about P17, wherever he qualified. In fact, it's probably more like P24 rather than P17, because he was like 8th in the Q1 session, so that would be quite far down. That would probably be about 21st, 22nd, I think. Masia's still pretty valiantly holding on, but you can see I really am going to have to turn the engine down now, because we've got 0.2. It dropped to 0.1 briefly, but we're about to start the last lap of the race, so we'll be cutting it really fine. Masia's miles wide now. I think he's been passed by the two of them, so I think that might be his strong defence finally over. So on to the final lap then. We've got plus 0.1 in reserve. We are going to be cutting it super fine. Down to power mode 2 now. Back up to 3 very briefly here then. We're really playing with fire here by cutting the fuel. That's fine, but I just want a chance to get into the position. And here we go into Brooklands. We can have a look at the inside of Masia. There's a bit of contact. The front end is really protesting there. And we've got past Masia. Rueda now side by side with RT Gas. Masia's probably going to get straight back up the inside of us. It was almost pointless to do that one, but we're right on the back of them, where usually we've lost a lot of time through that corner because they are battling. So if we can get the run on him down towards Cots, which I think we have, so we're basically running him at the back through Brooklands. We should be able to overtake him into Copse, and then maybe to Maggis and Beckett. We can attack the two ahead. Something inside to Copse. We go over Messier. Again, the front end's really protesting. He's trying to hang it around the outside. It's kind of messed me up, really, with those AI in front, although you can see I'm on a personal best lap, so we're still going pretty damn fast. And here we go, they're going side by side through turn 11. I've not actually been able to take advantage of it. I was hoping I would, but they seem to really have upped their pace as well, because I'm right on the personal best lap, like I said before. And now the bike really does seem to be struggling with the power. But here we go, down the straight, then Will Rueda try and make a pass on Artigas. That might leave him vulnerable. I think there might have been a change for third place ahead as well. I think Suzuki has got back in front of Holgado. And here we got the inside into Stowe. The front is on the move once again. The front tyre is pretty worn out on that right-hand side. I don't think we're going to be able to overtake either of the two in front of us, unfortunately. Here we go into Vale. Try and counter speed through. Can we do anything on the inside into curve 17? Oh, we've had contact with Artigas. We've kind of pushed him out the way. But there we go. I think we are just going to come home in P6 here for the British Grand Prix. Well, the pace was certainly hot in that race. A little bit less eventful, shall we say. Obviously, a few less laps, although I suppose the laps are longer. It was a bit of a stalemate for a long time as well. Me just running around in 6th place. No one really threatening from behind. Not being able to attack Messier in front. But it all went wrong as soon as Messier started to drop back. And I got forced backwards into the clutches of the AI as well. You can see his fastest lap was only a 13.3. So really, he was probably a bit out of his depth in that one. But unfortunately for him, he did get shuffled down to 8th place. I do apologise for making that rash move on Artigas right at the end. But I just tried to nip up the inside. A little bit of contact. But I tell you what, we've been bashed out the way enough by the AI this year and over the previous years. So sometimes you've got to give a little bit back. And it is Moto3 after all, so at the end of the day, I suppose it doesn't make much difference. And I guess he is really our closest championship rival, although I imagine Sazaki's probably going to blast past us there because he's going to have gained loads of points on us with that race win. I think it's his second of the season as well, so really putting something together there. So in the Riders' Championship then, you can see it has changed quite a bit. Sasaki does leap up to 4th place in the championship. Our 5th place is suddenly looking a lot less secure with only 4 points ahead of Artigas there. Moreira takes the lead of the championship actually ahead of Holgado. So a couple of poor weekends from Holgado there has really benefited Moreira. Ortola now almost 40 points adrift of that championship. So he's slowly falling out of contention. He did a pretty decent comeback, but he did drop back a little bit again towards the end. Obviously, he was right behind me at one point, but I think that pack behind was just so aggressive that it was just basically chewing people up and spitting them out. It was a pretty aggressive battle going on behind us. So that 3rd place with Ortola struggling could be up for grabs, but if anyone's going to take it, it looks like Sasaki at the moment with him now 9 points clear of myself for 4th place. So with the Teams Championship then, there doesn't seem to be any change at all. Everyone seems to be in pretty much the same position. So there we go then. That is my home Grand Prix done. I'm a bit disappointed we weren't able to get the top 5. I think we could have done if we hadn't have had sort of the botched pass on Messier into Abbey. That really cost us there, and because I think it kind of messed up my whole section, and that just put me back into the clutches of the guys behind. I think if I passed him, I might have just been able to gap him, and then he'd have held them all back like he eventually did. Although, to be fair, on the last lap, I was literally on course for my best lap of the race. So, yeah, we were pushing throughout the whole race. It wasn't easy at all. It was a bit of a sweat fest, shall we say. But either way then, with that round done now then, we can head back to the career hub. Obviously, no turning point completed, but there will be some social media messages waiting for us. So we gain 1,700 RP then from that one for finishing in the top 15. So we're getting almost towards halfway to Pro now. But here we are then back at the career hub. You can see we've got a message from Suzuki. So I imagine for the next one, we're probably going to have to beat him. It's probably going to be an extra objective. That's usually how it goes. But Suzuki says that it was a good weekend. We're in front of Biker and we're getting ready for another weekend when we have to do our best. So let's see what we can say to him. So we can say, okay, so it didn't go well this weekend. We'll have to work hard to get out in front. And you were lucky, but the next race will be a different story. We'll be nice to him. We'll say the positive one. And there we go. We've now got a positive opinion from Suzuki as well. So Leopard really do love us. If we were sticking around for another season, we'd be in a really good position to sign for them. But of course, we have made our intentions clear. We want to move to Moto2. But there we go then. That is the British Grand Prix. I do apologise. It's probably a bit more of a boring episode. There wasn't so much action in the race. Although the last couple of laps it did heat up a bit. But for a lot of it, it was basically the first lap. And then just after that, it was just kind of running around doing a few laps. Just trying to stay close to the guys in front. But you do sometimes get that. And it was quite balanced actually. There was sort of one section of the track where I was quite a lot better. Another where the AI were quite better. So if I managed to just get a bit of a gap, it was enough where I could just keep them behind without too much of a problem. It wasn't like I was just getting constantly bashed out the way like we've had at some of the other circuits. If you are new to the channel, please do like the video and subscribe. It really does help me out. And then you'll be able to see plenty more MotoGP 23 game content coming from me. Career mode, online, game experiments, you name it, they will be coming at some point. I know it's been pretty front-loaded with career mode at the minute, but you know, whilst the new game's out and it's fresh, obviously I want to try and get through the Moto3, Moto2 categories and get up to GP as soon as possible. So that's why the career mode has been coming out so often. But I am still trying to do plenty of other videos, so hopefully you guys are enjoying those ones as well. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.